I'm nervous.
Oh man, hi everyone. Good morning from Birch Aquarium. I'm a familiar face. I'm Caitlin. Great to talk to you guys again this morning. And we have a brand new extra special guest, Amy, who is one of our very important members of our Aquarist team. Now, you might think that we are a little different this morning. There's no Kelp Cam. Oh, but my dog is barking. We are home. Amy is at the aquarium. So what we're doing today is we're doing a chat with Amy, and we're going to be talking to her about her career, about some of the amazing work she does at Birch Aquarium, and we pulled up some photos to share with you guys. And I'm really excited to talk to her. So get your behind the scenes questions ready, and anything you've ever wanted to ask about how do you end up as an aquarist or as somebody who wears many hats and has a very cool job. So Amy, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do at the aquarium?
Yeah. So I am an aquarist at the aquarium, and a lot of people aren't totally sure what an aquarist is. So I like to tell people that I'm a wet zookeeper. I take care of all of our fish, and specifically I take care of our seahorses, and I also take care of our loggerhead sea turtle. And I also take care of all of our education animals. So if you guys have ever had Birch Aquarium come out to your schools, or if your school has come here and you guys have had the opportunity to touch a whole bunch of different types of invertebrates, those are some of the animals that I take care of.
That is so awesome. And as somebody who worked in our education department for a long time, I know how challenging it can be to take care of not just the education animals, but many of the different creatures we have at the aquarium. So that is super cool. Would you say that you have any animals that are your favorite to work with at the aquarium?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I love working with all of the animals, but I do specifically really enjoy working with our loggerhead sea turtle and our pelagic ray that shares that exhibit with her. They are just really charismatic animals. They're really fun to train. Yeah, I really like them.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about training some of our animals in a little bit. For now, though, maybe jumping in, can you tell us about some of the exhibits that you've worked on at the aquarium? I know that there are a few in our newest exhibit, Dragons and Seahorses, that you had a big hand in helping create.
Yeah, so our shrimpfish exhibit, which we also call Tank 39, if you guys are ever walking around the aquarium and happen to notice that there are numbers above the tanks, that's how the aquarists kind of know them. But yeah, the shrimpfish exhibit, I was fortunate enough to get to build. So one of my favorite parts about being in husbandry is being able to create new exhibits. It's not only like creating a little micro ecosystem, but it's also kind of creating like a moving work of art. So I'm especially proud of that shrimpfish exhibit. I look at it all the time.
It's definitely one of my favorites. And I think it's one that's very dynamic because the shrimp fish are not only an unusual species for people to see, they kind of have a funny name and they kind of have a funny body. You can see them in the upper right corner in the video right now. And we can talk about those in a little bit, but there's also some really cool, like softer, flowing creatures in here that people sometimes think are sponges or corals. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what those softer creatures are?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different types of corals in this particular exhibit. So we've got tons of leather corals, which is kind of I'm not sure what side of the screen this is on if you're looking at it.
I know it's so confusing every time.
I don't know. It's kind of that larger coral that almost looks like a toadstool or a mushroom is that big leather. Some of the like green corals that are off to the right-hand side, those are green star polyps. We also have a ton of hammer corals in here, or a species of Euphilia, if I have any coral nerds out there. And we also have a ton of different species of gorgonians in here as well. So I really love, a lot of people who love corals are kind of either in like the hard coral camp or the soft coral camp. I'm particular to soft corals. I really love seeing movement in my tanks, which is one of the reasons why I love this particular exhibit so much. Is there's just a ton of movement in here, especially with the shrimp fish. They're just, the way that they move is just really interesting, and it's really peaceful to watch. So all of these corals are alive. They are real live animals, which a lot of people don't actually know, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
They are super cool. And I know that at least for the hard corals, a lot of the time we talk about how there are hundreds of individuals, sometimes thousands, even more, living in one hard coral skeleton. And it's kind of like a big apartment building for all of those corals to live in. Now, with the soft corals, Amy, are there still a lot of those individual organisms all living as a colony together?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a ton of these little teeny tiny organisms called zooxanthellae, which is your fun word for the day. Everybody just learns
vocab.
Zooxanthellae. Woo! It's fun to say too. But yeah, so these little teeny organisms live symbiotically within the corals. So that's another fun word to learn, is symbiotic. Two organisms that are living together that both kind of benefit from that relationship. So these zooxanthellae are also photosynthetic. So they're going to be bringing in a lot of light and consuming that and transforming it into nutrients that the corals can actually use, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. And we did have a question on one of our, it was either a moment of zen or fun fact video that we posted. And people were asking, you know, do you have to have special lights above the corals, or do we have sunlight or skylights that are above some of the exhibits? Because I know that having the ability to do the symbiotic photosynthesis with the zooxanthellae, wow, that was a lot of vocabulary all at once.
I know.
It's really important. Or they're like little farmers. So to have their symbiotic little farmers inside be able to grow. So do the corals have to have special lights above them?
Yes, they do actually. So with a lot of our exhibits, we have full spectrum LED lights.
Wow.
But we also have metal halides too, which put off a lot of heat. So when you have these mixed species exhibits with lots of corals and also fish, and the shrimp fish have really high metabolisms. So that means they have to eat a whole bunch. So we're putting in a lot of nutrients into this exhibit too, which can cause algae blooms. And what they love lots of light. So it's a really fine balance of, yeah, we need to have a lot of light on this tank, but we also need to make sure that we're testing our water quality, and we have a photo period, or the amount of time that the lights are on, that's not too long or too short. And the nice thing is that when you've done this long enough, you can kind of look at the corals and say like, you're looking a little droopy, or maybe your color's just a little bit off or something like that. And you can kind of test your water parameters and see what's going on there. If all of that looks good, then maybe it's your temperature, maybe it's your flow, maybe it's your lighting.
Oh my gosh, so much troubleshooting.
Yes, there's a lot of, but I mean, that's kind of one of the fun parts of the job, moving puzzle, and you get to collaborate with people who have, worked here a really, really long time to teach you things, and sometimes you get the opportunity to teach. So yeah, it's a big collaboration. Lots of teamwork goes into it.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Now, you brought up really quick the shrimp fish themselves. Sometimes they're called razorfish, depending on the name, and they're the ones that are schooling on the upper right in the video. I think we do have a photo of them in the wild, a little bit zoomed in, because they are actually one of my favorite creatures that we have at the aquarium. Oh, spoiler alert. Those are some photos coming up. But if not, I can share my screen and get that photo up there. But the shrimp fish themselves are so cool because they actually swim in a very different way than the average fish. Let's see if I can get that photo up there for us. Sorry about that, guys. Can you tell us a little bit about what's so cool about these shrimp fish, or these razorfish?
Yeah, so they actually kind of swim upside down, which is really, really weird to see. But it's actually a really cool behavior. So these guys are very closely related to seahorses. They're all in that same Signathid family. So these guys are swimming upside down. They also have a symbiotic relationship, we're bringing that word up again, with a specific type of urchin called a diadema urchin, or a, yeah, I know, they're super cool. So you can also see them in their exhibit as well. So what they'll do is they'll actually kind of swim in between of these really long venomous spines of the diadema urchins to keep them safe. So yeah.
It's so cool. And when people are in the exhibit, I feel like one of the questions we get the most is how are they able to swim with their face facing down? If you guys look really closely at the photo, you can just barely make out their eye. And that black line that goes vertical or up their body is to help them blend in with the urchin spines. But then also, if you think about it, it's almost like a zebra stripe too. It kind of helps confuse predators if there's a bunch of silvery, shiny, striped fish all swimming kind of ethereally in the water. So it's a really neat adaptation, and these guys have such specialized ways that they swim. Amy, where is their tail?
I'm sorry, you cut out what?
Oh no, I was saying, where is the shrimp fish's tail?
Oh, so it's right at the like little tippy top. And they also have a modified fin that kind of undulates all the way up their bodies.
Very cool. And it really is those fins that help them move around in the water to help keep them vertical. Are they able to take their bodies, where's my hand, and flip from that orientation to swim like a more traditional fish, or that's the only way they can move is in the water like that?
Yeah, so they can actually move their body in any which way. It's really funny because these guys in the exhibit have actually learned when I'm going to feed them. So I see that behavior where they all kind of like flip their bodies a little bit more parallel to the surface of the water. So they have a little power head in their tank that just lets the water movement kind of be a little bit more variable. And so I have a little button that's a little feed timer button, and I'll just push that button. The flow stops for about 15 minutes or so. And they know that when I push that button and the flow stops, they all come up to the surface and they're all like almost flat in line so that they can be the first ones to get the food that I put into the exhibit.
That's awesome. I always feel like people underestimate how smart fish can be.
Oh yeah, it's so weird too because you don't think about fish being a smart, trainable animal, but turning off the flow and them having a response to that is a little bit kind of like training, kind of.
Yeah.
The seahorses actually do the same thing. They'll all kind of crowd around where they see, somebody in a blue shirt standing next to their exhibit or their holding area, and they all kind of crowd in that corner like, feed us. So
that's amazing. That's really cute. Well, speaking about like training fish and knowing all of these things, I know that we get a lot of questions about like your careers and how we end up in becoming an aquarist. And I know that you've chimed in on a few of our calls before saying that being an aquarist is a very multifaceted job. So correct me if I'm wrong, but not only are you a biologist, you are an ecologist, you are a chemist because you have to do all of this water quality stuff. You are a veterinarian because we can't have vets here all the time. So you guys have to be able to administer medicine. And am I missing anything else? Oh, and a science communicator because you have to be able to talk to people about the animals. So I mean, 5, 6 different things that you do all the time.
And you also have to be really physically fit.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a lot of diving that we do, and with even just like scraping algae, I'm sure hobbyists at home who have aquariums know that sometimes getting all the algae off the glass is not easy. So
no. Oh, and you guys have to be plumbers.
Yes, plumbers also. Yeah. And Jenny, who is one of my coworkers, another aquarist, she also has to do a little bit of electrician work too. So it's a lot.
I can only imagine. So I know we have some fun throwback photos that you shared with us to tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you are today. Maybe we can bring up some of the first of those throwback photos. And oh my goodness, look at you. What What is that? Is that lettuce?
Yes, that's romaine lettuce. So I was very fortunate enough to have my first 3 internships at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in Columbus, Ohio. So you don't have to be coastal in order to get into marine biology. Ohio, believe it or not, does not have an ocean. We do have some Great Lakes though. But yeah, so I was lucky enough to get my first 3 internships at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. My favorite of which was with our manatees over there. Manatees are just really unique, very cool, gentle giants. So it's Stubby, who you see in the background there. She is huge. She, I think at the time, was almost about 2,000 pounds. And all they eat is romaine lettuce. And out in the wild, they eat a lot of different types of seaweeds and things like that. But yeah, so I kind of started out there. Let's rewind a little bit. So I always knew I wanted to work with animals, as I'm sure a lot of my coworkers did also. But I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with that. So I was also fortunate enough to have a very supportive family and friend unit. So I ended up going and volunteering at veterinary hospitals. I volunteered at our local metro parks with naturalists, and I ended up volunteering with the zoo, my local zoo, when I was a teenager. And I just kind of fell in love with that atmosphere, being able to teach people about, little known facts about wildlife, about nature, getting them to care a little bit more about nature. And of course, the zookeepers are just like rock stars at that point to me. So I went to Ohio State University, the Ohio State University. Brutus is going to come smite me if I don't say the. So I majored in zoology with an emphasis in marine and freshwater systems, just through like internships and things like that. So I got my start in the education department at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, where I did a lot of animal contact and experiences and things like that. Got my internships under my belt. And after internships, I got seasonal part-time work down at Miami Seaquarium. And then I got my first full-time position at the Gulf Area Marine Adventure Park in Destin, Florida.
Wow.
And that experience was amazing. Just getting your first full-time husbandry job is like amazing. So there I also found my love for sea turtles.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I was able to do a lot of sea turtle rehab and release. There's me releasing some, that's a really big loggerhead there, and then a little green juvenile in the next picture.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love releasing sea turtles. It's one of the best, most rewarding feelings. In isn't super great. We really wish they didn't come in, but sometimes things happen, and being able to make them healthier again and setting them back out into the wild was extremely rewarding. And that group of individuals there really taught me a lot as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And that must have really prepared you for working with our loggerhead sea turtle. Yes. For those of you guys who don't know, our girl was a rescue, but unfortunately she wasn't able to be returned to the wild. So we have great people like Amy who help take care of her. Amy, I think one of the things, well, you said many very important things, but some of the most important things we talked about was the importance of internships and volunteering when it comes to having a career in any type of zoo or aquarium or animal care field. I did similar things with volunteering at my local aquarium when I was in high school. It was my very first volunteer job. And any time people ask us, we are happy to tell them, like, try to volunteer. Because not only will you see what you're interested in, you're also going to be doing something really great to help out places like zoos, aquariums, nonprofits, even if it's as a vet technician, if you're really into animals. But definitely a recurring theme with all of us in this field is doing a lot of really cool internships. So that's really cool. Now, Amy, you said it's a loggerhead sea turtle on the left? Yeah, you can tell that big head.
Oh, yeah.
The green sea turtle on the right.
Yes.
Very, very cool. We do have some fun comments coming in. Ellen says, Amy was a puppeteer in the conservation and education department at the Columbus Zoo. I feel like you might have left out a very important part of your career.
Yeah, I was a theater nerd in high school. It did really, really well to my career, actually. Yeah, when I was at the Columbus Zoo in the education department, we had many a puppet shows, and which is always really fun because you get to
so cute.
Be silly and yeah.
Oh man, that makes me really happy, especially because I know that we incorporate a lot of not necessarily puppets, but stuffed animals and things like that with our youngest kid school and education programs when they're running at the aquarium. So that makes me feel very happy. Update on Stubby the manatee, who you love so much. Kara is saying that Stubby is now 2,241 pounds as of earlier this year. Sorry, guys, we don't have manatees at Birch Aquarium, but this is back. So cool.
It's good to know. I'm glad my Columbus Zoo family is tuning in.
And thank you for tuning in, Columbus Zoo family.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a question from Jordan, who's asking, what is your favorite part of your job right now?
Oh gosh, is all of it an option?
Good answer.
I really, really love exhibit design. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, you get to create something just out of your brain and then see it come to life, literally, which is really, really rewarding and a humbling experience. And I also absolutely love scuba diving. That is one of my passions here. Getting to dive in the kelp tank and feed our giant black sea bass is, you want to talk about a humbling experience. Try feeding a fish that's like 3 times bigger than you.
Amazing.
So cool.
Amazing. Now, we have talked about in the past the scientific diving course that has to be done through Scripps Oceanography that allows all of our aquarium teams and a very select few volunteers to dive within our exhibits. Can you tell us what it was like to do that?
Yeah.
I heard it's really intense.
It's extremely, extremely intense. Probably one of the most physically and emotionally demanding thing that I've gone through. It's a 2-week intensive course where you have to not only do swim tests and be able to, you know, complete a certain amount of tasks while you're diving. You know, we have to be able to take off all of our gear underwater and put it back on. Oh
my
gosh. Shout out to my dive family.
I know, this is more members of our Aquarist team. Was that during the dive course, or you guys going on a dive for fun there?
I think
work and fun.
Was my first open ocean dive as a Scripps scientific diver certified. So I think this was my first dive after the dive class. So I'm super happy. And there's Kaylee, Ian, and Melissa. In charge of our diving here. So she was monumental in helping me prepare for that dive class as well as through the dive class. And yeah, like I say, you have to do a lot of different tasks while you're diving, whether that is, okay, I'm going to collect these little teeny tiny things and make sure that I'm recording it underwater legibly so that I can read it out of the water.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had night dives, which are actually some of my favorite dives to go on. A lot of people think it's kind of scary because you can't see anything. It is like pitch black and you can't see your hand in front of your face, but you get to see a lot of bioluminescence. You get to see a lot of different animals that are really active at nighttime that you wouldn't normally see during the day. And you also, through the dive class, just kind of learn how to be a good diver with other divers. So a lot of these people that you are entering into the dive class with, you don't know, like I didn't know anybody else in my dive class, but you do buddy up with everybody and you kind of learn like, oh, not everybody's going to do what I think should be, you know, how you should be going about it or whatever. Like you kind of learn flexibility and
teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork.
I mean, really, because no place can run with just one person. And I know that especially for our Aquarist team, we always reference you guys as our Aquarist team because you guys have to work together to do so many different things with the aquarium, which is really, really amazing. Yeah. Wanted to hop back for a second. We had a funny photo of you actually working on that exhibit that has the razorfish in it. I love this photo so much because I think it's such a different perspective for people to see. Can you tell us what's going on here? This was more than a year ago now, right?
Yeah, which is crazy. It's been up that long. Yeah, so this is me inside of Tank 39, the future shrimpfish exhibit. And I had just put some sand in the bottom there, and now I'm building the rockwork. So when you're building a new exhibit, a lot of people like to go in with like diagrams and like, this is how I want it to be shaped. And this is what it's going to look like. I do it a little bit more freeform. I really like to let the rock speak to me because it all has different shapes and it fits together differently. And so right now I'm just kind of building the structure that I am envisioning coral going on to. So my a lot after I got out of this.
I feel like flexibility needs to be added into in more ways than one.
I know. Thank goodness for yoga, right?
Hey, we saw some pictures of you guys doing some yoga at the aquarium. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the schedule has changed? I know we've talked about how you guys are working in two separate shifts because you are essential staff. We are all part of the UC San Diego community. And so with the university, there are some people who are able to work from their workspaces. And obviously you guys have to be there to take care of the animals, unlike me from home. But can you tell us a little bit more about how it's been working in this very bizarre time?
Yeah, so we did split our team into two. So we've been working 4 10-hour days, and we kind of trade off on Wednesdays. So like this particular week, my team has a 3-day work week in the building where we're doing normal husbandry duties. And then tomorrow I'll be working from home. So a lot of people are gonna be like, what are you doing from home? It's a lot of the boring. It's a lot of the computer work and catching up on population data and a lot of things like that. And then so tomorrow, the next team or the second half of our team will be coming in. So it's been a little bit of a challenge just because we're so used to working with each other. And I miss you guys if you're watching.
Oh man. Well, props to you guys because I know that it's not easy for anyone to be working right now, but I know that it's really takes a lot of bravery and hard work to be switching your schedules around and going into the building. So I know that all of us really appreciate it. Thank you for taking care of the animals. Oh my goodness. Andy reached out about the photo we're showing right now, and he says, this is a really great way to get into your job for being in the tank. That's really funny, Andy. I'm just going to scroll through right now and see if you have asked us any more questions. So if you have questions for Amy about behind the scenes or career or anything like that, please go ahead and ask. Donna Cunningham has a question. Have you been recently diving for kelp, or have you gone out to collect kelp recently? I know that we have very special permits, and we've talked about this on the Kelp Cam a few times, about being able to collect either floating patties of kelp or kelp that has broken off the bottom, or a very limited number of entire kelp organisms to use within our exhibits and as food. So have you guys gone out at all recently for kelp or anything like that?
The Aquarist team has not gone out for kelp. I'm thinking through my brain. Has not gone out for kelp in, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month or so. But we are fortunate enough to partner up with a few individuals down at Scripps who have gone out on boats and collected what we call surface kelp, which is just kelp patties that have kind of come up to the surface, really nice, healthy looking big macroalgae. So I think we did that maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago is the last time that we went out. But before all of this happened, we were going out and collecting probably like once every, gosh, I don't know, 2 or maybe 3, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months or something like that. We go out and collect.
Yeah. And I mean, it's another part of the job, and we are very fortunate to be close to some really amazing kelp forests just offshore here in San Diego. And I think it's also really fortunate that we're so close to so many marine protected areas in La Jolla and in the surrounding area. I know that conservation work and a lot of the things that we do with Scripps Oceanography revolves around that conservation work, and having that marine protected area, or like essentially an underwater park, is really important. Have you gone diving in that marine protected area off of La Jolla?
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's really incredible to, I think we went out to the artificial reef a while ago, and I got to see my first wild giant black sea bass, which was stunning. So cool. Oh gosh, he was pretty big. He stayed pretty far away from us, but he was really big.
For those people who have watched our Kelp Cam before, the giant black sea bass is that huge fish we have in our exhibit, and our female is currently more than 300 pounds. We usually tell people 300 to 350 pounds. Is that right, Amy? Yeah, but giant black sea bass can get to be huge, 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 huge. They're one of the largest bony fish we have in our waters here. And what's also really important is that they're an endangered species and they are protected. Amy, can you tell us any more about those cool fish? I'm going to see if I can pull up a photo.
Yeah, so I know that there's quite a bit of population projects that are happening right now at other institutions that we partner with. 2 of our aquarists, Vince and Melissa, actually just went to the Giant Black Sea Bass Symposium maybe like a couple of months ago, which was really cool. So they get to talk to a lot of other facilities that are breeding and doing releases and things like that. So I am trying to remember if it's Long Beach Aquarium that
yeah. Which one is it?
I think it's
San Pedro. What is that aquarium called? We'll remember. But they have been doing great work with sea bass breeding and working with UC Riverside, I believe, to help breed them in captivity. And we got a few of those babies, right?
Yeah, we have 2 of them, which have been like growing like crazy right in front of our eyes. So we got them when they were maybe about yay big or so. And right now they're probably like almost, they have to be almost a foot long by now. They grow
they grow super fast, and I'm trying to queue up a photo of a baby giant black sea bass because I know, oh wait, I just pulled up a photo and it came from our blog, which makes me really happy.
Perfect.
So I'm going to share my screen really quickly because the baby giant black sea bass are adorable because they are, all right, let's see here if that worked. Okay, can you guys see it? I have to scroll up a little bit. They're adorable because I don't know if you can see, but they have huge fins on the bottom of them. And this little baby is pretty small in this photo, but the fins are huge. So I always say it's like a puppy has gigantic paws, and then you have gigantic fins on a baby giant black sea bass.
I always see Dumbo in my head.
Oh my gosh, that's a perfect analogy for it too. They are adorable. So another really cool animal that we have at the aquarium that you mentioned a little bit earlier, and I know that we had a video of her getting fed by another one of our really cool aquarists is our pelagic ray that people might have seen in the sea turtle exhibit or Magdalena Bay exhibit at the aquarium. Can you tell us a little bit more about this cool creature and why you love working with it?
Definitely. So I think I saw on a different Facebook Live, somebody asked like what the smartest fish was in the aquarium, and I have my opinions that it's her. And so she is an adult pelagic ray, and she's been with the aquarium since the very beginning.
Wow.
She's been around for a very long time, and she is probably one of the most trainable animals that we have in the building. She is extremely food motivated. She likes to get little pats when we get in the water. So she's kind of like that really annoying puppy when you get into that particular exhibit. She'll just like kind of follow you around, and she's like, "Hey, for me." But
that's really cool. And she's really awesome. Target trained, correct? I know we've used that term a few times in the past when we've talked about our sea turtle and training our sea turtle, but can you tell us a little bit more about what is target training and why it's important for an animal like a sea turtle or our pelagic ray?
Yeah, definitely. So we do any type of training, not just for fun and not because it's cool, but it's actually for like veterinary reasons. So she's target trained to a white, so I think it's actually a 5-gallon bucket lid. But it works. So we put that down into the water, and the behavior that we're expecting from her is that she's going to swim up calmly and kind of put her mouth is on the bottom of her body, put her mouth like right up against that target. And at that point, I'm going to reach down and kind of grab her rostrum, or like kind of the front of
like the front of her face.
Yeah, like the front of her face, and just very gently kind of put my hands on it so that she knows that I'm there. And then I've got food in my other hand, and I'm just going to kind of put it right into her mouth. So the target training is completely optional. All of the animals that are target trained have the option to not participate in training. That's totally fine. We'll get you fed, at a different time in another way. But the target training is really optimal for us because we get that really close kind of contact with the animals. So we're able to check body condition, monitor exactly how much food she's being fed. We can administer vitamins, or if an animal needs a medication for whatever reason, we can do it that way and make sure they're actually getting that medication. She's kind of a food hog. So we can also kind of distract her during our sea turtle feeds, or broadcast feedings, which is just kind of when you put food into the exhibit for other fish to eat. So we can kind of distract her to make sure that the other animals are getting as much food as they need, while she's also getting the food that she needs. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And would you say that it is difficult to target train a stingray?
I think stingrays are some of the easiest animals to train, honestly.
There you go.
I've trained southern stingrays, cownose rays, I've trained bat rays, and now this pelagic ray. And I mean, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about stingrays being like mean, dangerous animals, but they're some of the most gentle animals that I trust the most to work with. They're just kind of reliable, fun. They're kind of like underwater puppies. They're really fun. So yeah, they're really food motivated. And if you're food motivated, you can pretty much train any behavior.
That's awesome. Sage words for anyone struggling with their rescue puppies right now.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I know the pelagic ray of ours has a lot of personality, and she is a very cool creature. And in the comments, we just talked about, if you take a look at our IGTV or on our Instagram account, we have another one of our aquarists, Kaylee, actually doing that target training with the pelagic ray. So if you hop onto Instagram, you can actually see exactly what Amy was talking about. So guys, we're going to be on for another 5 minutes or so, and we had a few more questions come in. Kirsten asked a really great one. How do you guys weigh your fish? I can imagine it being easy for something smaller, However, for something larger, I know it can be a challenge. So can you tell us a little bit more about how do we get a good weight on many of those bigger creatures?
Yeah, so with our sharks and stingrays and our sea turtle, who isn't a fish, reptile, but for a lot of those larger animals, we can actually weigh them with a very large scale. So we use that target training for moving animals around as well. So the animal associates that target with something positive, with food. So they're going to follow that target anywhere that we want them to, which is very convenient. So we can use that target to maneuver the animals into a stretcher or a basket, and we can momentarily lift that out of the water, wait till the water kind of gets out of that stretcher or basket, weigh them, put them directly back into the exhibit. For some of our smaller fish, like with the shrimp fish, I would not put them on a scale or anything like that. But what we can do is use body fat indexes that we just kind of have in our heads. So a lot of the times you can tell if an animal is like thin or overweight or something like that just by doing this for so long. So looking at my seahorses, I can always tell like, okay, like you're looking really great because your abdominal area is looking nice and plump and healthy. So for the smaller fish, it's more so you look at them and you can decide whether or not they're thin or not thin.
Mm-hmm.
And for the other animals, it's mostly target training into a basket.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I know I've been at the aquarium before when you guys are doing things like the shark physicals, and a lot of guests and people never really think about the same way that you and I should be getting a physical every year. Our animals get physicals, maybe not every little individual shrimp fish, but certainly some of those larger species like the shark. And I know that with those physicals, we also help contribute to research that's going on with them. So for example, with the leopard sharks, when they are gently and safely pulled out of the exhibit to get their weights, and they draw blood to make sure that everything is safe with them, the same way we might get a blood test to make sure everything's fine inside our bodies. We have researchers who come from, I believe, San Diego State University, and they're doing research on the cool, creepy, crawly things that live on the shark's skin. Is that correct, Amy?
Yeah, and we actually also just had a researcher from UT, from Austin, come down, and he did something similar with our sea turtle on our last physical with her. So he was looking at the microbiomes on the shell because he's doing a study with wild turtles. So those little microbiomes on the sea turtle shell can kind of give clues as to what that turtle's been eating, where it's migrating, a lot of things like that. So there's a lot of little details that you don't really think about.
Man, I didn't know that about the sea turtle. I'm stoked to learn that. How cool. I mean, I really feel like that's one of the things that makes Birch Aquarium such a really amazing place to work and be part of, because not only are we sharing these amazing animals, we're working so closely with the scientists, not only at Scripps Oceanography, but UC San Diego, and then beyond, to try to contribute to not only how we understand these animals, but what we can do conservation-wise, what we can do to understand their environments, and just in general get a better understanding of our ocean planet. It's so cool. And we got to work with that.
We're constantly learning, which is kind of the best part.
Right? So cool. Well, guys, I think we are just about ready to wrap up. I want to say huge thank you to Amy for taking some time to talk to us today. And if you guys have any follow-up questions, let us know, and we can try to get those answered. We're also working on some really cool Aquarist Q&As that a lot of people submitted questions for on Instagram. So we're looking forward. You might be hearing more from Amy coming up soon. And I want to say thank you so much, Amy. Is there anything you want to tell people before we sign off?
Hang in there, everybody. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to each other. Be nice to our planet.
Sage words, Amy. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you on Tuesday at 2, when we might actually be trying out something a little bit new to share with you. So or Thursday, not Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. What day is it? Thursday at 2. and we will see you guys then. Until then, thank you guys. Bye, bye, bye.